welcome back to another episode of Let's Face the Facts. I'm your host. My name is David Almeida. I'm an actor in Orlando, Florida, and every week I like to sit down with an actor or artist friend here from the Central Florida community, and then we watch an episode of the classic sitcom The Facts of Life. Then we hit record, synopsize the episode, and talk about anything and everything else that it might inspire us to talk about. Usually lots of stuff about TV, usually lots of stuff about nostalgia, usually lots of stuff about our long past childhoods. Anyway, this week I have a returning guest. Yes, I promised you he would be back. It's Paul Padilla. I wanted him back a lot sooner, but we will discuss here in the episode how he's been a busy guy, and then I've actually been a little busy too. I have to cop to some of that. But it's a fun show. I'm really glad he was able to come and watch this with me. We watched Season 3, Episode 20, called Kids Can Be Cruel, and the original air date was March 17th, 1982. Can you believe it's Episode 20 already? We're almost done with Season 3. I cannot believe how quickly this is going by. This is, thank goodness this is a labor of love, because, I look and I'm like, next week is going to be show number 50. That's a quarter of the way of this entire project. My brain is like, what? Really? Anyway, let's get going with this week's show. I think we're ready to jump on in. Let's face the facts with Paul Padilla. Well, it's about damn time.
Hello, everybody.
Where have you been, Paul Padilla?
You know, I've just been enjoying listening to all of the episodes.
You've been listening?
I have been listening.
That's so sweet.
I listen to different places, but some of them are at the gym. I start laughing, the Matthew Arter episode. I was cracking up so much, and I almost hit a lady because I was cracking up, and I almost tripped over a machine. And so,
good.
Yeah, so no, I'm enjoying. It's been great. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, it's like hanging out with my best friends and talking about one of my favorite subjects.
Well, I love that you listen to the show still.
I do, of course.
You had said originally you were going to be a super fan. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but
right, no,
it's just taken us a while to coordinate. We always, okay. Am I to understand that your mother theoretically lives in Texas?
Pretty much, yeah. Everybody kind of thinks that.
I feel like every time I've texted you saying, let's get together and do another show, you're like, oh, my mom's in town.
Yeah, she is, yeah. Well, they're retired, newly retired, I guess, about a year and a half, 2 years. And so they really do have the freedom to do that anytime they want. So
good for them.
Yeah. And it was their 50th anniversary this year, so they're traveling a lot. They're in Prague right now, so as we speak. Yeah, so
that's how I get you.
Because my parents went a 2.5 week to Prague in Europe and Germany.
Every other time, it's like parents are in town, hanging out with mom. And I know you're not lying or giving me the runaround because you post pics on your Instagram all the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I know you're not bullshitting me, but it's just so funny how I'm like, again?
Again, yeah. It's it's easy. Like I said, they have the freedom to do it. They like to be here. They love to hang out in Celebration and go to Epcot and just walk around, have a good retired life.
And you're friends and friendly and on good terms with your parents.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Freak.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. It's crazy.
Wow.
Lucky though.
No, actually, honestly, you are. That's a beautiful thing. So I'm so glad to get you back. I was worried the season might end without me getting you.
I know, it kind of kept creeping up. So I told you I don't have to be on every season. It's nice that I'm here.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
You're a super
fan.
fan.
Went out, had a nice dinner, and now we just said, well, since I'm here, let's...
Okay, but you said the D word.
I said the D word.
You said the D word.
We went out. You didn't make me dinner.
We have to clarify.
Matthew Arter.
In fact, you just took me out for a lovely dinner for a belated birthday dinner.
Correct.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Matthew, I did not feed him.
No, I said it's my turn to feed you a nice meal. So, and I don't cook. So I said, let's go out somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Matthew, guests can feed me. I'm just throwing that out there into the ether.
See? That's good. So now next I want to hear where he took you to dinner.
And so I'm sure we will give you a full report.
Okay.
Fuller than you ever wanted or dreamed.
All right, good.
So we just watched Season 3, Episode 20, Kids Can Be Cruel.
They can.
I remember this episode so distinctly.
Me too.
So clearly. And I remember really liking it back in the day, and I really liked it again.
it's a little scary how it's very
Still.
relevant today.
Still, exactly.
They might have not had the internet, but yeah.
This isn't one of those where the title, Kids Can Be Cruel. Pfft, what a 1980s title. That doesn't pertain to modern society anymore.
Not at all, yeah.
But yeah, in fact, it's really good. There's a lot of fun little hiccups and weird things along the way, but overall, I like it. And the episode was written by Jerry Mayer. Jerry is one of the original writers, and I think he wrote the pilot and a lot of the stuff in the first season, which was awful.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well,
maybe
good.
he works better with a less of a cast to have to write for,
Before we even start, I think it's been 2 episodes now that I've meant to mention, and I forgot to mention that Kim Fields had a new title card credit in the opening theme. Oh. They changed it from that big, wide braces smile of her brushing her hair and happening to be looking directly into the camera.
And she did this weird little thing on one side.
Yeah, she's brushing her hair, and the line, what she's saying is, yeah, I know.
Right.
They're talking about dreamy celebrities. This is at the very, very beginning of this season, and she's supposed to be gazing off wistfully, but that place she's gazing happens to be us, and it's very unsettling.
It's very strange.
Very unsettling.
And she's only combing like a centimeter of her hair.
Yeah, she's doing this.
It's just not like combing that. She's just like
it's
the
weird.
edge of it. Yeah, you're right. It freaked me out a little.
I was very glad that it changed, and it changed to a clip, and I'm not sure where it's from. It must still be coming up, but it's a shot of her now with her bowl haircut, with her penis head look.
It's so strange. I mean, maybe it was hip back then. I'm sure it was.
I'm sure
Here we are talking kids can be so cruel.
I know, really.
Talking about her penis haircut.
We are going to. Yeah. These girls are 14. Yeah, we're going to wreck them. It's going to get real, bitches. You think high school is bad? Try 2 middle-aged homosexuals.
Hilarious.
So, but the new clip is, and I don't know where it's from, but it's a shot of her still, of course, still with her braces, but with that hair that we've been seeing now pretty consistently. Yeah. And it's her looking at something, doing a
okay, yeah,
laughing into uncomfortable pause, widening of eyes, and it's lovely. I like it. Yeah. It's a little more fun. Dictates comedy a little bit more because it's freaky. It's like a 3-act play and a 2-second title card, and so that's been around for a couple of episodes, but. This episode marks Nancy McKeon's new title card. I guess I keep calling it that. I guess her credit card. No, her credit shot where you see the actress and see her name below her. Right. That's what we're talking about. If people still can't figure out what the
serious moment, and then she smiles.
She's very serious, and then she smiles. Yeah, and that is from this episode. As soon as they got that clip, they went, "She looks so good there. Put that in."
Yeah. I always wondered, like, if you were on a sitcom, 1, what would they pick of mine? And 2, or do you have the right to be like, no, I look like shit?
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. I look fat or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, either I'm blotchy on that one or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
your agents intervene on your behalf.
I would just probably have to, they'd probably have to change it 5 times if I had that in my contract. Because I'd be like, no.
But up until now, Nancy McKeon's title has been the same since the very first time she appeared on the show. It's the shot of her looking up at Mrs. Garrett during the shoplifting episode where they're talking about bringing the blouse back, but maybe not. And she's looking up at her like, oh, nodding. Right. But she looks so much young. Like she, in the last year...
They've all aged, it feels like.
They have. Yeah. When you look back a couple of... Even at season 2, you're like, God, they look like babies. But when you think that Kim Fields is going from 11 to 12, and Nancy McKeon is going from 14 to 15, those are important growth times in a girl's life.
And plus, we hear about the famous craft service table that they had on set, which that was, that always... Yeah, I would be there all the time too. Yeah. So oh God, what did he say? Dana Gould, stand-up comic and one of my favorite podcasters. He was a writer on The Simpsons for I think 7 years, and he said the kitchen in The Simpsons looks like every single person's kitchen the day after Halloween. Oh God.
He said it was just loaded with candy. When he quit that job, and after he left there, he said 10 pounds just fell off of him.
Yeah.
Because he just wasn't snacking on all the
time.
shit. Exactly. Well, we begin our episode with, what do we begin it with? What do I point out so often? Preparations. An event is happening, and we have to be doing things.
There are banners being hung.
There is so much crepe paper.
Yeah.
So much crepe paper and fringe.
Yes.
And those flat things that you fold around and they become three-dimensional. I think that's the technical name for them.
Flat things.
Yeah. Crepe paper balls.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So what the big sign, thankfully we have a big sign telling us what it is. It is World Hunger Box Dinner Auction. And apparently it's something that has been put together by Blair. It's a Blair thing. Blair, she's the conceited bitch with a heart of gold. She's giving away for World Hunger. And what we quickly learn is that this is a joint thing they're doing with the Bates boys. And something that probably would not happen today is the way this works is the girls are putting together a dinner that they put into a box. Not all food box as well. Just going to throw that out there. Mrs. Garrett at one point refers to a salad. Is that a complete meal with a salad and a dessert and
an entree, right?
And yeah. It was just like, what? How
in
do you
a box?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was quite, and they didn't have styrofoam back then.
Right.
Remember, it wasn't like a to-go box.
Right.
To-go boxes weren't really much of a thing. I mean, they existed. Certainly, they've existed since forever, but that wasn't as popular because it was the 80s. Our portions hadn't gotten so out of fucking control. Seriously.
We couldn't finish our corn tonight, but anyway, it was very good corn.
Oh my God! But we had this fire roasted corn that was covered in cheese and
stuff
and other things. It was so good, but it was in one of those little cast iron skillety things that was about. It was like the size of a personal pan pizza.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And corn and cheese and the sauce with it. Yeah. It was like...
Definitely picking up our probiotic on the way home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hot. So what we learn is somehow Blair is definitely doing this for charity. Yes. But wrapped within this is a ruse. Blair has this plan where... she is going to alert this certain boy at Bates, whom she is dating, as to what her meal is going to be. Because the way this auction works is boys at Bates bid on the meal. And then with the meal, they get a girl.
They get a girl. Comes the girl. Yeah.
Free lady with every meal.
And that's fine. And that's
totally fine. That is totally fine. No slight whiffs of slave trading or misogyny or women being treated as objects. No, not at all. But the plan is that this boy is going to know ahead of time what Blair's meal is. And therefore, he is going to make the winning bid on her meal and they get to eat together. Because they do not have the ability to eat together ever.
Yeah. It has
preceding
to be in the cafeteria.
In this event. Why this event is so important, we're not really sure. But we have that going on. Yeah. Joe, typical Joe, very disinterested. She has thrown together a horrible dinner. Mrs. Garrett is like, really? And she says, Joe, what boy is going to bid on that? And Joe just goes,
Gives her a little smirk.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just like, Joe don't want a boy. Matthew, we're doing the diesel horn honk motion.
Yeah.
There it is. So then, and we learned that Natalie has put together an entire box of jelly beans. And it's like, another Natalie Fat Joe.
Yeah, but no.
Nope, turns out not. I thought so too. I was on high alert. But so tell us, what is with the jelly beans?
Well, Natalie has a infatuation, crush, really likes a boy named Tim. And I can say that Tim is pretty dreamy. He really is. He's really cute, really sweet. Good actor.
Agreed.
Yeah. I would fill up my box with jelly beans for Tim as well.
Tim could take all my candy.
Exactly. Yep. He's a winner.
He is good, and we will learn he's very sweet. Now the boy that they refer to the boy that Blair is all about. multiple times, and I had to turn to you and I say, his name is Dink. D-I-N-K. Look it up on IMDb. The character's name is Dink. And okay, we get that we've had Bank Parker before. We get that Bates is a prep school. So the preppy culture is huge right now in 1982.
Oh yeah.
So the idea of boys with names like that was a big thing at the time. But I know from the time I was a child, Dink was what we called a penis.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You hit me in the dink.
Oh, okay.
That was just our nice way of saying dick.
Dick, right.
And have you never heard the word dink used as interchangeable? Maybe that was just my...
Maybe it's where you lived, yeah.
It's regional. Maybe it was Massachusetts. I don't know.
You hit me in the dink.
What? Hey, what are you? Hey, I'm telling your father you hit me in the dink.
You're looking at me look at my dink.
Yeah.
It's a new word. I learned something today. I'll use it again.
Maybe. I mean, nowadays I just say cock and balls. But, and Dink is the fullback of the football team.
Annoying.
Blair refers to him as a marvelous, massive muscle.
No.
Joe says, above his ears.
Yeah.
And she's right.
Yeah. He's a dick.
So, but before we meet Dink and Tim, we are introduced to the slam book. You know, this slam book that all the kids write in, where every student has a page, and then you write an insult, or you can write a compliment, but you sign a number instead of a name. This slam book that we've never heard of before and we will never hear about ever again.
Right. Until Mean Girls comes out later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tina Fey, I think you owe someone some money. So, And Mrs. Garrett is, of course, they say, this is this book where we insult people. Mrs. Garrett's all, what?
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. You know, being honest does not give you permission to be vicious, is how she puts it. And honestly, she's right. She's very, very right.
She's very right.
Yeah. So then the boys arrive with the stereo. Good reason to bring them in. That works. They're bringing in, carrying the heavy speakers. And that's when we meet Dink. Wow. Dink is one of those teenagers who looks like he's 35.
Yes.
I didn't check his age. The actor's name is Scott McGinnis, and he has sporadic credits through the 80s, and then his career seems to stop at 93.
Dink looks way too old.
He does. I don't think he is, but honestly, because, the football players, the robust, thicker guys, they were the guys that developed early. They did have more tests. They were shaving in junior high.
But he seems really stoned to me. He just seems really, his eyes don't open up.
He did a lot of closed eye acting.
Yeah.
He did a lot of not looking and making eye contact, and a lot of shaking the head while he was, there was a lot of inexperience going on here. But honestly, though, casting-wise, to play a big, dumb galoot, spot on.
Yeah.
Really. He was good. And Tim is just like you said. Tim is dreamy.
I love Tim.
So sweet.
I love him.
He has curly hair. It's light brown. It has we've got that William Cat feel.
Who I loved him too. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you had thought that it might be the same actor or the same character as Bob.
Right.
When Joe broke up with Eddie and was pretending to be married to Bob. But no, it is not.
Okay.
It's not.
They really seem like the same person. But yeah.
And I did check. Both of these actors do not ever appear on the show again.
So sad.
As this character or any character. And Tim is played by Marc, either Poppel or Poppel, Poppel. And his career was also sporadic, a couple of appearances here and there on high-profile shows, but then nothing after 1997. No sooner do we meet them, and Natalie, of course, is fawning over Tim. And then, I should have said that at one point it is brought up that Natalie, when they say to Mrs. Garrett, it doesn't have to be an insult, it can be nice things. Well, here, look at Tim's page and the nice things that Natalie wrote. And Natalie's like, how did you know it was me? And they basically go through a long list of reasons why. Natalie, it's clear that you're number 10. That's who you are. So she has written very...
I would be number 10. If it was Tim, I would be number 10.
I'll be Tim's number 10 any day.
I would be number 10, especially at that age.
Yeah. Matthew Arter, I bet, would say 69. Just saying. So that has come about. So Natalie is fawning over Tim. Blair is fawning over Dink. That is so hard for me to say. You have no idea.
Dink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the boys say that right behind them is Rocky Price bringing his tape deck. So this is all good. The boys are bringing in the speakers. They're doing the heavy lifting. And then this other boy, Rocky, is the one with the actual tape deck. And so they're like, who is Rocky? And they're like, oh, that's not his real name.
Yeah, don't say that, Mrs. Garrett. He'll be...
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name is Carl. And, well, they call him Rocky because of his terrible complexion. And they quickly say, look, here's what's written in the slam book about him. And the middle-aged vaudevillian writers, it's like, they call him Pizza Face. They call him Moon Craters. They call him, I don't know what they did. But Mrs. Garrett has a joke, an attempt joke. If I ever get my hands on that slam book, I'm going to put it in my Cuisinart. And she tries to reach for it in one of those half-hearted, oh, gee, I'm going to reach for it now. And they pull it away and she doesn't get to it. It's like, bitch, you could have grabbed that
because
book.
Tootie doesn't, I mean, she could take Tootie. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Totally could have taken her down.
Get the damn book.
Sit on her. Yeah. You got it. Yeah. So then in comes Carl and we meet him. And he indeed does have quite a horrible complexion. Paul will verify that I stood up and was looking at the TV. It's a DVD, so the quality is not the greatest. It's not like it's Blu-ray.
Right.
But I was looking to see because I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this was prosthetic work. They put these things on his cheeks.
Yeah.
But
you were really intense looking. It looked very good.
Yeah,
it looks very realistic. Yeah.
There is one close-up, a real close up where you're like, oh. Some of just what look like pockmarks or maybe they're shadows, but they read as blemishes in other zits. When you looked at it close up, it's like there are a lot of just pimple bumps. Yeah. And it didn't look as good. It was one of those distance made it look better.
I saw this actor a lot in the 80s here and there, and he never had a bad complexion before, so it must have been some good makeup work.
Yes, because the actor is Dan Frischman, who was on every single episode of Head of the Class.
I used to love that show. I wonder how long that was on. I feel like it was on a while. And who was the main man?
Howard
Hesseman. Yeah, I liked him too.
And then he left for the last season or two, and that was where Billy Connolly came in.
Oh, right. See, so it had to go on more than...
Head of the Class was 114 episodes. It ran for 5 seasons.
Wow.
That's good. That's why it could go into reruns, because it had over 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And it ran from 1986 to 1991.
Okay.
So it's only 4 years. 4 years down the road, he'll be...
Did they ever get new students, or were they always the same students? I don't remember that part, but...
That is a very good question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really didn't watch it. It's a little bit... 86 was right when I was getting into drama club, and I sort of abandoned television for the theatre.
Oh, gotcha. I did both because I love the television.
Did you?
Yeah.
I still watch some of these staples, but I mean, as of 86, I wasn't even watching Facts of Life.
Yeah.
There was not that much I was catching on the weekdays anyway.
Right.
So Dan Frischman went on to work, and he's still working. He is still there. He is... he's older than I am. He's well into his 50s, but he still has work, and good for him. Bravo. He's had a very good character actor career. At one point, when he's got the tape deck, he says something about being, a lot of people think I'm a real deadhead. And Mrs. Garrett quickly jumps in like, who called you that?
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
Yeah.
Kind of like, huh? 'Cause she immediately thinks that's a nickname. That's a bad. And this worked.
Right.
This worked. And Blair went, no, Mrs. Garrett, a deadhead is a person who is into the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Garrett is like, oh, I see. Nice little glimmer, nice little itty bitty seed planting of Blair and him having a connection.
Oh, right.
And
because I was going to be like, how would Blair know that? But I guess there you go.
The Grateful Dead were big.
Yeah, I mean, they were. Yeah,
well, and it's certainly something a young person would know.
Yeah.
So he goes off to put the tape deck into the parlor. All the stereo equipment is going into the parlor. Mrs. Garrett has to have an exit line. So tell me, if they're dead, why are they so grateful?
And you had this moan come out of you when we were watching it. You were just like, but, you know.
It is such a difficult thing when a character says something funny with the intent to be funny and then laughs at their own joke.
Yeah.
Humor is, and certainly modern comedic writing, is much more reflective of a character saying something true to their character, completely serious and in earnest, and having it be funny without their knowledge.
Right.
You know, it's a really slippery slope. It'd just be like me coming up to a group of people at a party saying, "Here's a joke. 2 Jews walk into a bar. Ha ha!" It's like, ooh, that's pretty bold to assume that. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is.
Dink.
Yep. So, while Mrs. Garrett and Carl are gone, they look at the slam book, and when they're looking at it, this is where Dink notices the page for Tim and says, "Tim, somebody really likes you. Look at all these good things. I don't know who it is. It's this number 10 person." And so Blair basically gives a lot of hints.
Right.
It's like, well, she really likes you. She has a mad crush on you. She just left the room because she went to get him some Gatorade. And Natalie went to get Tim some Gatorade, rather. And so she's like, she just left the room. And he's like, oh. So when he comes back, God bless Tim. Yeah. So walks up and goes, "Hey, thanks, number 10.
Yes. And he kind of hits her, not hits her, but like nudges her on the
chin chuck. Yeah. That jokey, I'm going to punch a girl in the face move. That's, everyone loves.
It was so popular in 1982.
I know. Yeah. Well, in the 40s, here's looking at you, kid, kind of a thing.
Are we 82 or 83? Where are we at right
82.
now? 82, okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, this lovely scene happens where Natalie's like, "What is he talking about?" And he's like, "I know it was you, and it's so very sweet, and thank you." And he says, "But Natalie, I can't bid on your dinner tonight because I've been sort of going steady with Cynthia." And you and I looked at each other. What did we say?
Cynthia's dead.
I said, does he not know?
Yeah.
Didn't he see the suicide?
She ain't making you dinner tonight.
Didn't he see the suicide episode?
Yeah,
oh my God. That's tragic. And not to make fun of that.
No.
I'm so proud of the suicide episode.
Yeah, it was,
I really like how it came out. But the writers, come on. In the episode Breaking Point, we were giving the writers shit for naming our unfortunate girl Cynthia because like we just had Cindy not last season. Cindy was still making appearances periodically in season 2,
so he's going steady with a girl named Cynthia, which is devastating to Natalie as it would be to me if I was
if you were
I mean it'd be devastating to me now, but love you, Tim.
Marc Poppel, if you're out there, if you're listening, we are following.
I wouldn't even have to change my initials.
I know you're 60. However, if you're half as hot as you were when you were 17. So, and Natalie just beautifully, typical Natalie retort, she's like, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to end up eating dinner with Burt Reynolds as originally planned."
Yes.
Wonderful Natalie making fun of that was a beautifully perfect character. And Burt Reynolds, very popular. Still...
Smokey and the Bandit. I was kind of obsessed with those movies, even though they're really bad when you look at them now.
Yeah, he was still very famous. He was in the process of losing his serious actor cred. He had been doing a lot of those paycheck comedies.
Yeah. That's how I pretty much got to know him.
Doing like Stroke a Race and Rent a Cop and all the awful movies. But he still... I mean, we're only like 10 years out from Deliverance. And Deliverance, like, God, he is fucking
I mean, I didn't even, it wasn't until, I was in my early 20s, late teens that I started becoming, interested in film before I was born and stuff like that. So that's when I saw you and Ned Beatty and all these people. You're like, holy shit, doing these great performances. In the 70s.
No sooner do the boys leave that Natalie says to Blair, "What the fucking fuck?" I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, and Blair just kind of giggled,
Yeah,
she was
she's like,
whatever.
I gave him some.
Yeah.
I didn't tell them. I just gave him some clue. And Natalie just says, "Blair, you just watched me crash and burn. This is war, and I take no prisoners." Which is like, okay, Natalie, wow.
Yeah.
You laughed it off really nicely to his face, but fuck, girl.
Oh, no.
Someone
You
is
don't
15
mess.
years old.
No, that's like,
And having her teenage angst.
that's when you take your jewelry off, you take your earrings off,
hold
you
my
just
baby.
prepare, hold it. We
Hold
are
my weave.
going to
I'm
throw
a
down. Yeah.
I'm a cut a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, before the boys leave, the plan is in place. Blair makes sure that Dink knows what her meal is going to be.
Yes.
So that he knows to bid on it because, again, it is so vastly important that they have dinner together this night at this event.
And she loads it with what? Croissant.
Well, that's what I was just going to comment on. She's talking about typical Blair, because she's into French things that makes her fancy, like Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
But the fact is, she has to say croissant. And it's so weird to imagine. There was a time that chips and salsa did not exist.
What?
When you went to a restaurant.
Don't talk to me about that.
There was a time.
Nightmare. That's what nightmares are made of for me.
There was a time when the croissant was not a ubiquitous thing you saw in the window of every bakery. It was when Burger King first put out the croissant sandwich. That was kind of like, what? So croissants were not as common a food.
Okay.
So the pronunciation thereof was not as ubiquitous. And to me, I American. I say croissant.
Right.
And I believe that is appropriate. But the French would be you have to roll the R, so it's croissant.
Croissant.
But Blair is doing kind of a hybrid of that. As someone who allegedly speaks French and can order off of a menu in French,
Yes.
Blair does kind of do this pigeon
Right.
French where I have this croissant.
Yeah.
And I'm having coco vin, croissant,
Yeah. She says
and
a couple of-
dacaron.
Yeah.
And
After a while, I don't know what she's saying, but yeah.
But in particular, the word croissant really sticks out.
Right.
Because she is not saying it as a French-speaking person would say it.
Right.
I don't even speak French. I'm just adding an accent to it.
Got it.
And I think it sounds more authentic.
Yeah.
So just pointing that out for Shiggles. So then we go to the party, the next scene. And you tell us what is going on in this next scene.
Well, no, when I was thinking before, is this episode all takes place in one day, right? It's
Correct.
all one day and pretty much one unit set. They go to the kitchen once, but they don't really ever leave the dining room. It's it's a common area episode. They don't go to their bedrooms, right?
No, we never go to. No, this is cafeteria, kitchen, parlor.
Common area, yeah.
Yeah, it could be a play.
Right. So,
James Brendlinger, you may need to stage this. This would be a really good high school.
That would be good.
Yeah.
So we're at the big night, the big
auction.
the big auction night, and all of a sudden, Carl, Rocky Price comes in, and he is just looking kind of confident, looking kind of smug, and he kind of goes up to Blair and just kind of gives her a little side look and is like, "Hey, Blair."
Yeah, very confident.
Yeah.
And cute.
Yeah, very cute.
In spite of his skin.
He does a really good job of just being sincere and cute. Yes.
Yeah, and he's not a particularly attractive kid.
Right.
So you look at someone like that with a skin condition, you're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Double whammy, kid.
Yeah. You're like, don't worry, it gets better.
But the one thing is they didn't make him hi, Blair.
Yeah, with a beanie and a...
I left my slide rule back at the school and I had to go back to get it because I can't be without it.
Yeah.
Like they didn't go full nerd.
It's very sincere. He has this little corduroy jacket thing because that was big in the time.
The higher waisted pants.
And
and all that. And Mrs. Garrett does say, looking good. Mrs. Garrett is making sure to give him a little bit of extra love because she knows he could use it.
Blair's clueless. She just says,
she's
hello,
just like,
and then...
hi, whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
But the auction is in full swing when this is all happening. And who is our auctioneer?
Mrs. G.
Of course she is. Why wouldn't Mrs. Garrett?
I mean, when she's
the registered nurse, the airplane pilot, the beautician,
the one who came up with helped the girls with a suicide hotline after Cynthia,
the ballot counter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't Mrs. Garrett also be that? And God bless her, Charlotte Ray. The idea that just because she's the authority figure, let's put her in charge. But this is an auction. She is going, And now, next what we've got is your lovely turkey sandwich.
Yes. Yeah.
It is her pinching and giving off all of the worst, annoying tones to her voice.
Yeah.
And it's really like, oh my God, could this auction be over? I don't want to be in this room. How can they stand this?
Well, and that section where she's first talking and she's trying to spruce up Joe's dinner a little bit more.
Yeah, because Joe's is just awful.
It's just shit because she doesn't want anybody to bid on it. So she tries to spruce it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Joe ends up getting upset and then bidding against the boy that bid on it because Joe, once again,
does
not want to be with the guy. Now that was kind of new to me because that was never in syndication. That little section of her buying back her meal was not in any of the syndication. So that for me, seeing it was like maybe the only second time I've seen it because I saw a lot of those episodes in syndication.
You've brought that up before, how there are things where you're like, this is new to me.
I don't know
and I've seen it
100
times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. That's that fascinates me. But
tidbit,
that is totally extractable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That boy wearing a navy blue long sleeve shirt, huge collar, like Saturday Night Fever length of collar, on the outside of his sky blue, baby powder blue sweater vest, and very thin.
Yeah.
And then his high waisted pants. And the
so basically he was also looking at number 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he was looking at Tim as well.
Look, he was looking at
he was
Tim
another
also,
version of number 10. Yeah.
But he had the thing that's such the reveal of the era was that back then you wore your collar outside of your sweater.
I remember that.
Yeah, and since then, when that went out of fashion, it never really came back. We always
probably try to hold on to that.
I fucking
longer than I should have. But
my fifth grade picture. I shit you not. Yes, I wore it. I was the shit, man.
Yeah.
So then we come up to the moment where Blair's meal is now on the auctioning block. And Mrs. Garrett, as we have heard before, nothing funnier than Charlotte Ray trying to pronounce things in a foreign language.
Yes.
That's the level of humor we have to go to.
Yeah.
So we have a coco bag, and it's just terrible. It's terrible.
Fromage.
Fromage. Yeah.
I loved it.
So you know what fromage is?
Fromage. What is it? I always thought it was like cheese, but it's
that
cheese.
is correct.
Yeah.
Fromages or cheese.
Okay.
I don't know. What were the other foods?
Coq au vin.
I said coq au vin.
I think it was in there, but what is it?
That's like a beef stew. Beef stew with a wine sauce.
And a croissant.
And croissants and all that. But yeah, it's just kind of trying to play up all French cuisine.
Yes.
Throw in French words and it's automatically fancy.
Yeah.
And so very unsubtly, Blair is standing right there. And Dink shows up to make the bid, and he's like, $10.
And they're all like, oh, $10? Yeah.
She's like,
it's gonna feed.
That's the highest bid yet. Yeah. And
gonna solve world hunger with that $10.
It's true. But then Carl
says,
"Oh no, but we have the dramatic build up. So $10. Oh my God, that's more money than we've ever seen in our lives. Oh, and everybody applauds. Yeah. Going once, going twice.
$15.
What? Carl?
That's almost...
Holy shit. Where did he get $15? He must have worked 1,200 hours.
Well, he works a lot. He probably doesn't go out a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
He probably doesn't drink as well. So.
Well, he's got the tape deck, so maybe he rents it out.
Yeah.
But yes, Carl comes in at $15. Blair's reaction is like, you just killed my family.
Yeah.
And besmirched the legacy of my ancestors. And on that moment, we fade out to commercial. Yes. I have not yet used the word besmirched on this podcast, and I'm pleased to have found the chance.
It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor just to be nominated, really.
Exactly.
So we're in the commercial break. Have I at any point asked you to name a favorite commercial?
You know what? You have. And I believe I said Hungry Hungry Hippo was one of them.
Hungry Hippo.
Yeah, and I think I had another one. But I have remembered, when I've been listening to your other podcast, I have remembered one that I wanted to bring up. And I think I forgot the second time I was here. But do you remember, and I might have said it, but Riunite.
Riunite on ice.
Wasn't it like it was like
So nice.
fancy? It was. I felt like yuppie people were drinking it. Preppies were drinking. I would always see commercials. It always seemed like swingers on the commercials. Like having Riunite. This is what it seemed like. But I remember Riunite was the big deal, and now it's like $2 for a bottle. Like I don't know what it is.
Riunite on ice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me immediately think of Harvey's Bristol cream. That was another thing.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. The reason why that's lived on is because Gilda Radner did that beautiful spoof of it.
Oh, right.
Where there was a time a woman couldn't invite a man up for a drink.
Right.
And
Yes,
so the film is, the commercial is, hello, Bill, it's Sharon. I've got some Harvey's Bristol cream and thought you might like to come over for a drink. And I think it's downright upright.
Yes, I remember
so
that.
We have to look it up.
The commercial always seemed like they were swingers. You know what I mean? Like they were just swingers about to like put their keys in a bowl. And they just, it just what it seemed like. And so I always thought it was fancy. And I don't know why though. I've been to 2 Mexican restaurants that have posters for a margarita with a Riunite bottle inside of it.
Really?
2 different ones. So is that like making a comeback in the Mexican restaurant business? I don't know.
I'm looking this up on Wikipedia.
What is it?
Riunite is a brand of Italian wine imported and sold in a variety of flavors. The brand is known for advertisements of the 70s and 80s depicting a broad array of social situations and using the tagline, Riunite on ice, that's nice.
So swingers.
Yeah. But, and does it still exists?
Yeah, they make margaritas with it. I saw it at...
Italian wine?
Yeah, I saw it at a Mexican restaurant on 192.
Wow.
And they had a poster of it. Like somebody had actually, a photographer had taken a picture of it.
Wow.
And Riunite so that you put it in a margarita. And so then I thought, that's disgusting. That's gross. Do they even make Riunite anymore? But then, no joke, on social media... On Facebook, I saw a friend who was having a birthday party like in Miami, and he had a margarita with a Riunite inside. And this is just like 2 weeks ago. So apparently it's still around.
Holy shit.
But I mean, I just think that when I see it at the grocery store, it's like $2. It's like Boone's Farm.
It's
cheap.
it's cheap.
Like I wouldn't want to drink it. But
it's like Charlie drugstore perfume kind of.
Next time I'll bring some Riunite on ice over. We can try it to see.
Well, I don't drink.
You don't drink.
I'd be like, that's not so nice.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's Riunite. So in Italian it would be Riunite. Riunite.
Okay.
But in American it's Riunite.
Riunite.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Harvey's Bristol cream.
Oh yeah.
Bristol cream is a dark, complex amber product of sherry. Oh. So it's like a glass of sherry. Okay, there it is. But it's Bristol because it's bottled in Bristol, England. Okay. I did not know that before either.
Sherry, you don't drink it cold though, right? Isn't it? You drink it.
Yeah. No, Riunite on ice. Harvey's Bristol cream.
No,
they don't.
It would just be.
It would not be
sherry's
chilled.
not cold.
Yeah, it'd be like a bottle of wine. Room temperature. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've gotten my alcoholic education for the evening.
I'm so proud of you, David.
Yes. Paul's determined. He's determined. He's like, when I hit rock bottom, I want someone by my side.
The more you know. Okay.
So we can come back from commercial now, and we're kind of coming back in that same moment. Like we're still frozen in time, aren't we?
Yes.
And at which point, Tootie goes over to Dalí and says, "Oh my God, Carl is bidding on Blair's meal. Yeah. I wonder how did he know it was Blair's?" Mm-hmm. And Dalí just smiles and shrugs.
The biggest smile on her face.
Beats me.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, Natalie, you've been doing some shady shit, and I fucking love you for that."
I would have done the same probably.
So I would not have.
Well,
I would not have.
Well, I probably might have if I wanted to get back at Blair, but then later on, we'll see that it was the wrong decision for her to do because, she hurts other people.
So Carl then ends up giving he ups the price to $25 because Dink is trying to pool his money and it doesn't work. So they do a very funny little visual thing where over at the counter we have Natalie, Tootie, and Joe watching the proceedings and kind of enjoying Blair getting fucked over here.
Right.
And Natalie is there, and she's kind of, when you're sitting on your elbows and you have your hands up near your face. I'm demonstrating this so that all of my podcast listeners can see this. But she ends up with both hands on the side of her face, so it almost looks like she's covering her ears. And then Tootie at one point has a line where she says, I just can't believe this. And she puts her hand over her mouth. And Joe says, yeah, this is great. And in laughing, puts a hand over her eyes.
Yeah.
So we have hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil.
Yeah.
Which it's like, honestly,
Yeah.
they a little contrived, but they sold it.
Hey,
I approve.
Yeah.
I approve.
The director was getting,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, after it all goes down, it's all done. It's signed, sealed, delivered. They take Carl's money. Carl's got the thing. And again, Blair and Dink go to each other. What are we going to do?
Yeah. So what happened?
Blair gives one of her.
Yes.
We get the Blair Warner worry sigh.
Yeah.
But it's the idea. It's like, oh my God, we're not going to eat this meal together tonight. The world as we know it is coming to an end.
Yeah.
So not sure what the stakes were for this meal and for all this.
Yeah.
Not just we can't have a meal together, but it's like, I have to endure sitting down, eating a meal with another human being.
Yes, that's what it definitely felt more like that. Like they just had to, there was no other option. Like they couldn't do it. Yeah.
So in the process of this, oh my God, what the fuck just happened? And Blair is like, how could he have known that it was? And then she looks over and sees the three girls, at which point Natalie's like, bye, and scoots off in the kitchen. And Blair's like, I know what the fuck happened. So Blair goes into the kitchen to confront Natalie. And during this scene in the kitchen, as God is my witness, they are all wearing more blush than Natalie had on in the Zsa Zsa Gabor episode.
Oh, wow.
Natalie's blush in particular, I was kind of noticing it. I've been critical of the makeup for this and last season.
Yeah.
How they've got too damn much of it on these girls. But it's like Natalie's cheeks are insane in this. And I get it might just be the lighting is picking up on it here, but they are painted to filth. And like I said back in the Zsa Zsa Gabor episode, I'm like, I'm aware that she has more makeup on, but it wasn't no RuPaul's Drag Race shit. But in this case, it was just like, what were they thinking?
Well, maybe they had some blemishes of themselves because they were going through at the time and they couldn't have girls with blemishes and talking about Rocky. They couldn't have that. So who knows?
Maybe. It's very, very possible. So while they're in the kitchen confronting, back out in the dining room, Dink goes to Carl and insults him to his face. And he calls him Rocky to his face. Like suddenly they're not protecting him from the insults that they are hurling. And Mrs. Garrett overhears and tries to interfere and says, oh, aren't you afraid of being called a sore loser? And then we hear, then the plot is revealed. Carl says, I bid on it because Blair called me and told me to. And and Dink is like, what? Blair wouldn't have called. He said, she called me at 5:30 today. And Dink says, that is impossible.
She was with me.
She was with me. And then he corroborates it with Tim.
And Tim said, it's true, I saw them together, but he even had this look of feeling bad for Carl.
Yeah.
I mean, he
no,
really,
right.
because you kind of go, Tim's a good guy. He doesn't want, he feels bad that he's going through this. You know?
Yeah. And I just want to state, because we were so caught up in our joke about Cynthia killing herself.
Right.
Ha ha.
Right.
Tim letting Natalie down. He does it so sweetly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In that earlier scene, Tim is really so sensitive.
So sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why we've fallen in love with him.
Yes.
And so this falls right into that thing where he's like, yeah, kind of like, sorry, Carl, he is telling the truth.
Paul Poppel would be my name, right?
Paul Poppel. When you Marc Poppel Padilla.
Yes.
Paul Padilla Poppel.
Paul Padilla Poppel. Love it.
That is lovely.
My towels in the shower.
That's nice. Great. So, yep. And now Marc Poppel is going to come up to you and say, I heard the podcast. And you're going to be like, David.
Take me.
No, you're going to be like, David, he heard the podcast.
Oh, yes.
How could you let him know I had a crush on him?
I know, right? Oh, wow.
And while Tim has this response. He is sitting there eating a meal with a girl who, unfortunately, caught between them, is just stuck with looking between them and reacting. This must be Cynthia, but good Lord.
Yeah.
Talk about, she's in a friggin' Eugene O'Neill play.
Yeah.
She
had one look, and so she used it.
She looked so, I think she was aiming for concerned, and what she got, what ended up coming out was severe desperation. Yeah. Like, wow. The severity of this little quick reaction.
She had gas.
Guess because she had a croissant.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Garrett is like, well, why in the world would you have thought you got a phone call from Blair? And then she sees Natalie. And then we get common Mrs. Garrett thing. Natalie, could I see you in the kitchen? And Natalie's like, do you have to? She's like, no. And then as Natalie goes in the kitchen and as she goes behind her, Mrs. Garrett does the slam.
Yeah. And she slams it hard. Like, it's the first time I've seen, not a lot of times you see Mrs. Garrett get to that level.
Slams the boxes in the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be, were it not for a party, it would have been a get in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what it wanted to be.
Right.
But very on brand for Mrs. Garrett. Not always funny. It's honestly, to me, it's kind of like the joke of her screaming. It's just indicating. It's like, of course she's going to scream. What else do you think is going to come of this?
Yeah.
But anyway, very quickly, she lays into Natalie. And she says, well, it was just supposed to be a funny thing. Oh, like that slam book. And she says, Natalie, that's not funny. It's cruel. And then what the episode is about, Mrs. Garrett turns and says, there are times you girls have as much compassion as a school of piranhas. And good for her. Yeah. That needed to be said.
Yeah.
To all of them, maybe not Joe. Joe's definitely in Eve Arden mode, successfully, beautifully. And the focus of this is, well, I want to get back at Blair. Blair did this thing, I did this. We're even now. It's all good. And Mrs. Garrett's like, this, whatever. Who cares if it's good for you guys? It's bad for Carl. You're playing with that boy's feelings, and that's just cruel. And then Carl comes into the kitchen, and then, and he's very, hey, it's okay. You don't have to have dinner with me. I figured out what actually went on, and I get it. And Natalie fesses up. Good for her. And then he just kind of laughs it off, and he's just like, yeah, it was kind of stupid of me to think that Blair wanted to have dinner with me. That's all fine. And I'm going to go check on the stereo. And pardon the expression, saves face as best as he can. And
does a great job with it. Does a great job with that scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And because he hasn't been too nerdy or too pathetic, you're kind of like, yeah, he can tell he's hurt.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid watching the episode, because I watched them multiple times, I was always one of the ones that I didn't want to watch that much because I felt bad for him. You know what I mean? It made me feel bad for the character, so I didn't want to see it that much.
Well,
that's why today when you were like, would you like to let's do this episode? I was kind of like, that's hard one, because I knew it's someone that I always.
But I think the ending redeems it so beautifully. I really love the way this ends.
Yeah.
So then the girls are like, okay, no, he paid for his dinner. He should have to. So that's where it's like, I'll have dinner with him. And so Natalie's like, I should have dinner. And this is where the title card comes from for Joe, where she says, no, I'll have dinner with him. He wanted to have dinner with someone sweet and pretty and charming. And she's all in her mad face. And as she holds for the laugh, then she says, and that's me. And then puts on the fake smile.
Right.
And that's it. And then Blair's like, no, guys, I got this.
Yeah.
So then we go into the parlor. This is the first time we're seeing the parlor, the whole episode. And he is adjusting the tapes as best he can. By the way, just going to go on record, no music at this party.
There's nothing in the background.
No.
Yeah.
For all the talk of them bringing in the speakers. And the big Bates boys are bringing in these big speakers. And at one point, there's a joke where he says, I'm going to go get the big one now. Yeah. And Mrs. Garrett's like, there's a bigger one. And anyhow, Blair walks over and says, hi, with her meal. And he's like, hi. And she says, are you hungry? And he says, not really. Yeah. And Blair just graciously says, well, I'm starved, so I hope you don't mind. I'm going to start without you. And she sits down on the couch, opens up, and starts pulling things out. And he's kind of like, okay. And the first thing she says is what we said right along. She says, oh, it looks like my croissant didn't make it intact because it is squashed flat.
Yes. She said, I was afraid about this. She thought there might be a possibility.
Yeah.
Not that Dink would know the difference, but whatever.
Exactly, because he's such a dink.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing. Yeah, he is such a, like the Bink Parker, he's such a weenie.
Yeah.
Because, weenie kind of means nerd, but weenie is also kind of a penis reference. So to say someone is really a dink.
Yeah, I feel like, if you put a weenie, it's just not good. Wiener, it might be a little bit better. But,
I proposed that character for Citizens of Hollywood, Dink Weenie.
Really?
And
I don't know why
they
it
did not take me up on
They
it.
didn't bite.
Yeah. Got
They
suspended.
didn't bite.
Yeah. They told me to come into the manager's office and bring my ID.
Oh, well,
Yeah, go figure.
Give it the old college guy.
So then this lovely little twist and this change of pace happens where he says about the croissant, he says, wow, looks like one of the melting watches in that Dalí painting over at MoMA. At which point she says, wait a minute, what? And he goes, oh, MoMA, MOMA. That's the Museum of Modern Art. And Blair's like, no, I know what it is.
She's like, we're trustees.
Yeah, exactly. I'm rich, biatch.
She's like, I didn't know you would know it.
Yeah, exactly.
Carl Price.
You're an intelligent boy that goes to a exclusive academy.
Right.
That's like, of course, But the fact is that he basically says, oh, I love going there. I used to go there all the time. And he quickly locks into his love for art. And Blair, we know, has among her skills being a painter. And she certainly does. She won an award.
She did like the Quasimodo thing, right? In the beginning, or the gargoyle thing that she did for season 1. And then she did the palm trees.
But she won the award in the Cousin Jerry episode.
Oh, right.
Remember? And that was when Mrs. Garrett was the MC for the awards banquet.
We will build a family.
God bless.
Yeah.
And so then he starts talking about, did you see the Cubist show? And he says, I love Picasso. And they talk about Broch. He also mentions Cézanne. And I think he pronounces it a little bit funky.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it Cézanne? I don't claim to be too much of an art aficionado.
I mean, when you say, I've heard people pronounce it with a very Cézanne or Cézanne kind of Cézanne, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I like that she says she haunts the place. I've always remembered that. I haunt the place.
So then he talked about he was at the museum. This is a little far-fetched. He was at the museum trying to copy a painting. And
he had his paints and his easel, and he had like paints in a museum.
In the middle of the museum to copy a painting.
Yeah, that's...
And Blair says, oh, do you paint? And lovely delivery. He says, do I paint? No.
Yeah.
And then... they get talking, and he does say, it was just so ridiculous. It's like, because that would never happen.
Right.
Me in the middle of a museum with my canvas and all people around and me kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And Blair is genuinely charmed by him.
Yeah. They have a connection.
There's very quickly a connection like, oh, I can actually enjoy a nice meal with this boy, and the world isn't going to come to a fucking end.
Right. And it's like, it's a school. They're not going to be there that long. You're having dinner probably for 45 minutes, maybe.
If that.
Maybe.
Yeah. I could speed through that in about 10 if you gave me the opportunity. Yes. And that's where the episode ends.
Ends with the applause, and I'm the one who's intrigued. You love the credit cards and the, what do you call it, the photo, the things in the beginning, and that's your little obsession.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My obsession is the acting during the applause when they have to pretend like they're speaking. Like I always watch that. Always watch that. There's some you're like,
hubbub.
Yeah, and there's some you're like, oh, that was a pretty good one, and there's some you're like, that is horrible. Like they go from just being sincere to then having to do these over the top, like as the applause happens,
The worst was the licking of the envelopes.
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah,
remember that? Yeah. That was, God, was that Bondi or was that Tim Williams?
Oh, I don't know. That was the gossip one though, right? When she had to, Judy was, her punishment was to do all that. And then,
that was gossip.
Yeah.
And so I forget who was on the show, but that's it, where they just started like talking,
and it's just like really, all of a sudden their acting becomes very broad. Like, we can still see you. You don't have to laugh crazy or hug me. You know what I mean? It's just really
the one where Mrs. Garrett was going to have to quit her job, and then Mr. Parker says, no, I'm going to ask for that raise and you're going to get it. And then the whole, let's sit her down and have you guys wait on her, and you put the napkin in her lap.
That's always
all that space work and stuff.
I'm fascinated by
But this wasn't bad. This was them talking and Blair laughing, and it looked like a lovely, pleasant time.
Yeah, it was good. And so Carl Price ended up having a nice evening after all, and hopefully the girls learned about bullying. And
he paid a lot of fucking money for it.
That's true.
It was like he still got gypped in terms of he paid $25 of his hard-earned money.
Well, and there's one thing that, because I've always been terrified of you asking me this, because I'm not quick on like so many of your other guests who are great improv, is when you ask them to do a quick synopsis.
Oh my God!
You've never asked me. And I forgot, and I've never wanted to say it. I've never told you.
Did I forget again?
This is my fourth time, and you still haven't, but that's okay. Because it is my biggest fear, David. It's my biggest fear. So during the episode, I wrote one. Because I know I can't.
You weren't even watching.
I've seen it. I know all the words, but so I'm just going to let you know what it is.
I'm glad to think that this is so important that it fills you with anxiety. But
it's such anxiety, and that's why we were finishing up, and I was like, I'm 4 for 4, but I'm just going to go ahead and it's not that good.
Go for it.
It's just not going to be that. It's not that good, but I was stressed about it, so I wrote it. I put, Natalie takes no prisoners when Blair betrays her trust, leaving Bait student Carl an innocent bystander and brunt of a cruel joke.
Wow.
End scene.
End scene. Bravo.
Yeah, because everybody's so good, except for the one person that did the really long one that Matthew was giving him a hard time about.
Matthew was giving shit to Tim Williams for
just because it was this long one. But I do remember those blurbs in the TV guide, and I would always look up, because I remember when you would actually like plan out my week on a TV guide.
Yeah, with a highlighter. Fuck yes.
Yeah. And so that said a lot, and those were great. Yeah. Mine was even a little long, but still I was like the whole time going, I should probably have something prepared, because I'm not quick on my feet.
That is so funny that I forgot to do that.
I didn't, I didn't know what episode I was doing.
You're breaking a little bit of a sweat there, dude.
Yeah,
I know.
I was so nervous, but we're good.
Well, to my 5s of listeners, it might even be 6s at this point. I think we've gained a couple.
I think so too. I've had a couple people listen.
To my 6s of listeners, we once again have to say good evening, goodbye, and thank you to master improviser Paul Padilla.
Or just somebody who can write really, really fast.
If you can provide him a script, he is a master improviser.
There you go. Exactly right.
Sweetie, I am so happy. Thank you for taking me out for my birthday.
Absolutely. It was so good. We were burping the whole time. But
we
tried to,
we've had to edit them out.
Silent burps away from the microphone, but it was good. It was totally worth it.
And you are in the process of listening to what?
I am listening to The Facts of My Life, the autobiography of Charlotte Rae with her son. Yeah. And it's great. I'm really enjoying it.
How does she sound?
Oh, well, you guys hit it on the nail when you said Matthew was like, she is not in any hurry to get through that book. But she does take long pauses when she talks. And she says in the beginning, my voice isn't what it used to be. But she's a good story. It is what it is. But let me tell you, I've been really enjoying listening to it. I
did too. We recommend it, absolutely. Anyone into this show, if you're fanatical about it, you will enjoy the book. And when you are done with it, I'll do a special extra episode with just you and me talking about the book.
Yeah. I am listening to the Audible version, the audiobook. And I said to David, actually her voice is kind of comforting because it's very relaxed and very slow.
Oh yeah.
So I took a couple times in bed, I put it on, and I kind of fell asleep pretty quick.
Well, because you do associate it with that when she get talks. Into that, when she go, like I always say, her superpower mode, when she unleashes that maternal, motherly, rich, lower tone to her voice. It's absolutely something I think that is triggered in our lizard brain because we grew up with it.
Yep.
So, Paul, thank you so much. We will have you back. I'm glad we didn't get through season 3 and miss you somehow.
Thank you. No, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm really happy I got to be here for this episode.
Yes,
it's a good one.
And I do plan to, at some point, have you and Matthew here together. That is going to be a hilarious, amazing, incredible hot mess that I cannot wait to experience.
And we are going to have croissant.
Croissant.
I'm bringing it. I can't wait. I'll bring wine for Matthew and I.
All right. Well, good night, my darling. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks, everybody.
And there you have it. That was Paul Padilla. Now, one point that I didn't make during the show, I guess I didn't really fully think it through. We were already talking about how preposterous this whole idea was of putting together a meal and putting it into a box, let alone raffling it off as well as the preparer as a sort of token prize along with it. But here's the deal. These are kids at a boarding school. Where would they get the food? Why did Mrs. Garrett not have every student from Eastland swarming in her kitchen looking for stuff to put in their packages? It's not like a public school where, yeah, you go home at night and mom will help you put it all together. It's like they live there. Where would they have gotten the food? The more I thought of it after recording the show, just the more preposterous it revealed itself to be. So, yeah, I don't know what the solution was there from a writing standpoint, but wow, that's pretty bad. One other point was getting into the talk of the money, how the $10 that was offered for Blair's meal was like the most money they had ever seen, and how Carl ended up putting in $25. I talk a little bit in the extras about what food cost back in the day, but I don't know why it didn't occur to me to actually just click on to Google and find out what that money would translate into today's dollars. So $10 in 1982 is the modern day equivalent of $25.91. So, okay, for a meal, a gourmet meal, yeah, I guess it's a bargain if you get Blair Warner as your companion as well. But when you get up into $25, which is what Carl ended up paying for the meal, that is the equivalent of $66.47. That is a little pricey. But anyway, he thought he was getting Blair. He thought he was getting a little bit of popularity there. That was probably a small price for him to pay for it. Anyway, that's all for this week. Next week, I'm going to be watching Season 3, Episode 21. It's called Mind Your Own Business. And I'm going to have another special guest. And that's it, really. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, the facts of life are all about you. Let's Face the Facts was produced, written, hosted, and edited by me, David Almeida. My theme song was beautifully arranged and recorded by Ned Wilkinson. Our website is facethefactspod.com. You have to drop the let's. And that's where you can find extra pictures, video, and audio extras from the digital cutting room floor. Follow the show on social media. We're everywhere under the handle Face the Facts Pod. And don't forget, go to your favorite podcatchers and subscribe, rate, and review. Tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of Let's Face the Facts.